We're into the knockout phase of the Crypto Cup, and I'm focusing on the match between Hikaru Nakamura and Magnus Carlsen. Now, I've already recorded a video featuring their first game. I don't want to spoil that for you, but do check that out. I'm going to show you the second game now. And here we have Magnus Carlsen playing white, Hikaru Nakamura playing black. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. If you're not a subscriber, there's loads of great stuff on the PowerPlayChess channel. Do check it out. And of course, you get notifications every time I post a new video. So here we go. Game 2 of this ding-dong match. And it's a gioco piano. So one of those openings that often slowly builds the tension because it's quite closed at the moment. No exchanges, however. So lots of tension in the position. C3, well, that often supports a pawn coming here, sometimes supports D4 as well. And it gives that bishop some room to come back here. D6, rook E1. And these first few moves, well, there's a lot of variety here. You know, you can advance on the queen side. You can also bring your knight round here very quickly. You can also play for D4 very quickly. And likewise with black, sometimes you can play the pawn here or here. Some like to put the bishop back here. You don't have to play H6 and so on. So it is very subtle. Anyway, this is what we have on the board. A5 stops B4 and the bishop can come all the way back if it wants to. Or it can just go back to B6. There you go. Bishop E3. And pawns are exchanged and Nakamura breaks in the middle straight away. So that does break up White's pawn duo. And in fact, he's played in exactly this way previously. Let me get to the position. So we have an isolated queen's pawn position. That pawn is isolated. That means it can't be protected by another pawn. And the square in front of it is very important. That knight can't be driven away by a pawn either side. So this D5 point is quite important for black. Queen D2. Okay, Carlsen is lining up here. Now, Nakamura had played exactly this position before against Caruana. I'm sure that Carlsen knew that. In that game, Nakamura simply took on E3. And, well, Caruana was slightly better. He took with the knight here. One could also take this and play knight E5. This kind of position is very typical, actually, of the Queen's Gambit. Very often you get positions arising with this structure and White having a knight on E5. And it's certainly more comfortable for White. So maybe Nakamura wants to avoid that, I don't know. In any case, he invested 6.5 minutes in this position and played pawn to C6 to support the knight on D5 rather than taking here. And Carlsen took all of 3 seconds to smash open the king. Bishop takes pawn. Well, this is such an inviting move. Queen takes pawn on H6. You've got 2 pawns. You've got the queen in a really threatening position. And it's not easy to see how black's pieces are going to travel over to actually drive away the queen or just match that queen over there. So, yeah, it's such an inviting sacrifice. On the English weekend tournament circuit, they always used to say, you can roughly judge good compensation for a piece if you get 2 pawns and a check. Well, you got 2 pawns and you're pretty close to a check. So I reckon good compensation. And here, well, Nakamura played his move instantly and it was a horrible blunder. Sometimes, you know, Hikaru is such a good speed player, but you can sense it that sometimes that he just has a rush of blood to the head. And it's like he's trying to prove that his position is fine. He played bishop f5, and that's not a good move. He should play knight h7 with the idea of bringing the queen over to match white's queen. Now, it's not at all clear. Let me just show you what could potentially happen here. Bishop d3 I like because, well, obviously there's a threat, because it forces f5. And that means that just sort of opens up black's position a little bit. The e5 square is available for white's pieces. So here, and now pawn takes. I should emphasize this did not happen, but it's an interesting position. So obviously if white has time to bring this rook over, then things are good. But queen f6 is a very important move. Queen comes back. Bishop d7. Knight e5. Bishop e8. So it looks pretty poor on the back rank, but at least that bishop has managed to bounce around and it does cover some important squares. Now there's nothing immediate for white here. But all you can say is white has 2 pawns and a very active position. And I think this could go either way. Certainly I think Carlsen was justified in sacking the piece, because he has a really nice initiative here. Nice control of the open file here. It's very hard for black to exchange pieces off, actually. Anyway, that is all completely irrelevant, because Nakamura played bishop f5, which certainly looks like a very reasonable move to pack the king side. But actually after this, rook e5. And now Carlsen played rook g5, which is winning. Knight h4 is also very good, but Carlsen played rook g5. The key thing is that queen can't be driven away. So it's just right in the face of the king. And that's not good. Knight h7. Hits the rook, which stepped back. Rook e8. Fair enough. Covers the e-file. And maybe the knight can drop back here. Knight takes knight. Pawn takes. Bishop d3. So simply threatening to take here. Knight f8. But I mean, this is actually in some ways a very mechanical way for white to play. I don't mean that in a negative sense. I mean, these moves are just really easy. The bishop came back to hit here. Now the knight goes forward to hit the bishop on g6, and if that bishop can be eliminated, then white's queen and rook are straight through. Rook e6. I guess the only danger is if too many exchanges take place and white doesn't have enough material to win, but well, watch what happens. You could actually take here straight away, but Carlsen plays bishop f5. So that's a sneaky little move. I think he might be kind of messing with Nakamura's head. He's hoping that this will happen. And then rook h4 wins on the spot, basically. Queen h mate. But instead, after this, rook d6 was played. And only then did Carlsen take on g6. And in fact, exchange everything on g6. So we have this, well, very typical situation where the queen is checking back and forth on its own. The queen can't achieve a checkmate. But as we know, it needs a helper. It needs this rook to enter the game. And because black's rook is so far away and black's queen is so far away, in fact, all black's pieces are so far away, then yeah, this is very easy. Well, a few checks first. And now rook e1. So this rook threatens to come in on one of these squares, and then it's going to turn right towards the king on one of these squares, basically, with the help of the queen. Nakamura tries one last desperate attempt, rook c8. Okay, let me just give that one to you as a little puzzle. Where do you play the rook? e5 or e6? Of course, not e5, because in this position there'll be a check and then a pin. Instead, you just have to play the rook to e6, and here Nakamura resigned. So, for example, this could happen here, and check, and rook e8 wins the queen, and shortly after, everything else, lots of pawns as well. So, yeah, what a crazy match. Nakamura convincingly won the first game. Carlsen convincingly won the second game. In the third game, Nakamura crushed Carlsen. So Carlsen was in a must-win situation in game 4, and he managed to do it. So all decisive games, the match ended 2-2. Unbelievable. It looks like neither player is in fantastic form, but it's certainly really entertaining stuff. So I'll report back tomorrow, let you know what happened in this match, and of course some of the other matches as well. Thanks for watching.